Hello and welcome back to the Final Last Promise 0% Growths. In this episode, we'll be tackling Chapter 5, but this time I brought along a friend. Introduce
Hi.
yourself. This is my friend Dell.
Hi.
He helped me make sure that the strat was RNG proof and helped me actually get the RNG burns right. So I figured, hey, might as well have him in the video.
You dragged me into this.
Also, there is no audio in the background, and I'm sorry for that. I just turned off the audio when making the inputs, and because I had been listening to the game music for like an hour, and I did not feel like listening to it again. So to explain what's been going on while I've been talking over it, we got a new unit this time, this chapter. He's a monk named Arthur, and he's going to be somewhat critical, because if we get him to promotion, he'll be able to reach C-rank stabs, which allows him to use Barrier, Hammer, and Restore. He weakens a Nomad that Shuda finished off. Sean and Kevin work together to kill a Nomad, and then Corben, Siegfried, and Innana work together to kill a Nomad. Innana trades Kevin a javelin so that he can attack this mage on enemy phase. She also takes his blue gem from him because he does not need it.
It's here where you see that just how much that 0% growth is kind of straining us, because we need 2 or 3 units at once to gang up on these classes like nomads and mages, where it's like these classes aren't even really known for being exceptionally bulky
Or fast.
bulky, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. This was me just... If you ever notice me pausing, it's because I needed to quickly consult notes. Because this is the first chapter where I actually used notes and didn't just go off of muscle memory. Which is kind of surprising if you check some older maps, like Chapter 2, which was, I think, 4 minutes long, and I did that all from muscle memory, because it took me 4 fucking hours.
You just had it ingrained into your brain, pretty much, yeah.
It took me 4 hours to record it, to get the inputs right, and to strat it out. So on this turn, Shuda and Arthur kill another Nomad. Kevin moves up, Innana burns an RN, so that this enemy phase plays out correctly, and she kills a mage with a javelin. And then Siegfried gets a javelin, and Corben gets an extra iron sword that he'll pass to Shuda later. During this enemy phase, Kevin hits another monk with a javelin, and that's pretty much it. Arthur gets hit by a longbow. It goes for Arthur instead of Tamiko, even though he deals more damage to Tamiko, because he puts him at, I believe it's because he puts him at a lower percentage of his max HP than it would to Tamiko, because Arthur had already taken damage. Arthur chips a monk, and Innana finishes him off. Kevin moves up and heals, because otherwise he would die in the enemy phase.
Kevin's got a pretty important enemy phase here. He has to fight, I think, 3 mages and not die.
I wasn't sure if I burnt an RN during that. So I went back and quickly burnt an RN right there. It turned out that I didn't burn the RN with Kevin, because if you burn 1 RN, this enemy phase plays out. In the original strat, he dodged one of these mages, so he did not need to heal, but in this strat, he doesn't dodge any of them. Siegfried is 78%
Thankfully using oh, sorry, go ahead.
Siegfried is 78% hit on that shaman, so he's very likely to one-round him, but against those mages, Kevin only has a 64% hit chance, and he needs to hit all 3 attacks. I forgot the order briefly, so I had to consult notes. But the order doesn't really matter for the first couple things, because it burns the same amount of RNs, which the RN string in this chapter is very, very particular, because it allows the final turn to happen, right? This is an 8th turn of this chapter. I could, in theory, do it in 7 turns and skip a 5k gold chest, but the gold, but one, it would have required me redoing the last couple turns in the middle of the map, and I did not feel like doing that. And 2, the 5k gold, will come in handy later on in this mode, because it'll allow me to purchase an extra angelic robe.
So we're just kind of trying to clear out the enemies here, because Corben needs to go over and grab the leftmost chest on the room to the right there, because it has a Lancereaver.
Yes.
Which is going to be necessary for a later map.
Yes. Even if it wasn't necessary, him going to the left would not make this chapter happen any faster, so there's no point in not grabbing it.
Yeah.
So to explain the main goals of this chapter, obviously there's completing the map. It's a siege map, so we need to get Siegfried and the boss killer, who is actually Sean. Yeah, remember back in chapter 2 when I said I think it would be the last boss kill Sean was performing for a while? Yeah, well, I was shut up 3 chapters later. But hey, it's alright. I didn't expect it to happen either. The other goals are giving Arthur as much experience as possible. I believe he makes it to level 2 at the end of this map. I don't skip the cutscene with the nomads perfectly, but it doesn't matter because they all move the movement. Well, I didn't skip it on the first frame because their movement burns RNs, and it gets very wonky if you don't let them burn the RNs, which is the actual reason why I resumed the chapter. It's because I had to skip the cutscene within a 3-frame window, and I did not feel like having to hit that over and over again when making the inputs, so I just hit it once, made a save state, and then reset to perform the inputs. The other two goals of this chapter are getting a talisman from that empty room right there, and which unlocks the next Gaiden chapter, and getting the Lancereaver and 5k gold. Technically,
once we get the Lancereaver, we're also going to trade it over to
Shuda.
Shuda, not because he needs it for this map, but because he needs it in his inventory for a later map. Because this game is dumb and it doesn't give you a convoy until like 18 chapters in.
Yeah, and it does not give you prep screen. It does not give you a prep screen for another couple chapters. Actually, it might give you one in chapter 6. I don't remember.
This game is interesting.
Yeah. So Kevin hit a 50. While we were talking, Kevin attacked a Myrmidon after rescuing Tamiko last turn, and he hit a 58% hit javelin.
Was it 58? I thought it was 68.
It might have been 68. Either way, it's a decently low.
Either way, it wasn't ideal.
Yeah, and he had to hit it, just like Corben had to hit that javelin. Innana had to finish off the Myrmidon that Siegfried hit with a javelin, otherwise Sean would have been potentially one-rounded. Now this right here is...
Those Garinians, by the way, dead down there, by the way, are bosses.
They're not...
Because, like...
Yeah, statistically they're very good.
Yeah. I imagine Aiden would love to have one of those on his team.
I turn on animations briefly with the an extra patch I applied, just so you can see that I have to get this 10% crit just to ensure survival.
Yeah.
That
was fun to try and write out the rig for that.
Yeah. Last enemy phase, Siegfried had to dodge one of 2 attacks, otherwise he would have died. They have very good hit rates against him. It just happened to line up. I would have liked to do a more reliable strategy, but he needs to have attacked on every single turn he did. This is a deviation from a strat I had in my notes, but Innana doesn't need to do anything for the rest of this map, so I'm able to do that. This is the turn that the chapter could have ended if I did not want the 5k gold. The enemy phase down here does not matter whatsoever. These nomads, the Fora, I think that's what they are. Yeah, the Fora. They're not guaranteed to one-round these guys, unless they crit them.
Unless they crit.
Short bows in this game, which I can't believe I haven't mentioned yet, are 1 to 2 range and still have the crit that they do in Fire Emblem 6, 7, and 8. So they're very annoying to face. In fact, the main reason I had to skip the cutscene in the beginning of the chapter is
because Arthur would have been crit by a short bow guy if he hadn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the main reason why I didn't want to reroute and do a 7 turn. It wasn't actually because of the 5k gold chest, it's because the ordering on this turn is incredibly particular for the boss kill to work. And I did not want to improv that, because yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just burning an extra RN, but I would have had to route that in, and I did not want to do that already so late into a map. I had to consult the notes real fast, but Arthur burns RNs by doing that, and then Sean burns an additional couple RNs. And then it goes in.
So now it's time for Sean to get his
his third boss kill with a juicy 10% crit, 71% hit. He one-shots the guy with the piercing sword. This is what happens when you LTC.
Turns out effective weapons are actually pretty useful when you don't have stats.
Yeah, the original Shadow Dragon would tell you that. The original strategy was to have Siegfried crit the boss in turn 7, but that would require a very elaborate enemy phase. In case you're wondering why Innana unlocked the door but didn't grab a talisman, she would have had to drop one of her items, and I'd much rather have the one use store key for a later map. Is it critical?
Wasn't that bottom left chest?
Bottom left chest is the Draco shield that I have to skip because I don't want to have to face a very unreliable enemy phase. Either Tamiko or Kevin could end their turn in the empty room. Whichever one does it doesn't really matter. They both get the talisman. I just did it with Kevin because he spawns closer to
the unit. It also doesn't matter which of those squares you end your turn on.
Yes. I skip the cutscene and then save. We unlock the Gaiden chapter, which is a 10-turn defend map. And it is not going to be fun. However, we do get a killing edge there, so it is useful, and we recruit a new unit there with a personal weapon. Other than that, the only other additional notes were that I wanted to say were 1, the short bows are incredibly annoying. 2, Sean is actually going to be somewhat useful still for the next couple chapters. And 3, I had to use my inputs were slower than usual because I was playing on a more compressed screen, so I could read the notes at the same time I was playing the game. So, yeah. Either way, that's it for this time. So, from me and from Dal.
Yes.
Thank you for watching. And I'll plug Del's channel in the description. Go watch him. We do things together.